Alright, welcome back. Ross Ruffing here. Beautiful day here in Virginia. And today we're going to recap a little bit about what we had talked about the last couple days. But first we're going to revisit the project that I had started with you. If you watched the companion video to my first video about starting seeds, I had this little system where I was going to have this thing kind of right side up with the lid on top to keep the heat inside. And I had this plan to kind of stack all the egg cartons. As you can see, that didn't work out so well. The egg cartons got pretty moist in there, which is good. It's good to keep them moist, and it's good to keep that soil temperature nice and warm. But everything was kind of falling apart, and the water wasn't getting down to the bottom layers as well. So, kind of refashioned it, changed it up a little bit. And so we're going to see how this works. I'm a little fearful that I may have stunted my seeds a little bit, especially last night. I had a different system last night that I tried out that definitely was not keeping them warm enough. So this box here, as you saw the other day, these plants are definitely making a major comeback from the video that we took the other day of them. So a couple in there, and then a couple around the corner in that window cold frame that I showed you that I had made, as well as I transplanted my Brussels sprouts and cabbage there. So I think they'll be fine. They're pretty cold hardy. So we'll see how that goes. But that's a good segue into what I want to talk about in terms of life and pursuing what you're passionate about. Get this door closed there. What I want to talk about today is your fears. And as I mentioned, I'm a little fearful that I'm going to lose some seeds in kind of my mishap, not doing enough research, not taking the time to do it right the first time. And part of that is I was trying to work with what I had instead of going and spending money on having a light and setting up infrastructure inside where I don't have much space. And you know, there was different reasons why I did that. And hopefully, it's always a learning process. So the only thing I can do to get over that fear is to work hard to change it. So that's what I did, and hopefully my new system works out in that way. So about almost a year ago, I made this list of the things I was most fearful of in life, and wrote out 10 things. It was kind of a challenge for myself because I wanted to see what of those things are actually valid. I mean, a lot of them are valid fears, no doubt, but very few of them are actually impacted by most of the decisions that you make. And in reality, most of these things you cannot change. You might be able to change small things about them in your life, but you gotta get over those things that you cannot change, at least that you can't change today, and not let them hold you back when you're pursuing your dreams and when you're dealing with your priorities and making those small steps every day to get to your ultimate goals. And I hope that most of your goals revolve around like the health, wealth, love, and happiness. I think that if you can kind of focus on those 4 things relating to your priorities and everything else, you know, you got to be healthy. If you're not healthy, nothing else really works. And wealth, you know, I've always had an interesting relationship with money, but you got to realize that it's part of the life that we live in, part of the world. So you got to have a little bit of it, or a fair amount of it, to live a good life and support your family. Love, super important. I don't think that there's very many happy people out there that don't have very much love in their life. And happiness kind of goes along with all those things, and I view happiness also as fulfillment, and that can be through your career, through your family life, through a multitude of things. Finding fulfillment is a very big factor in your happiness, I believe. So I'm going to run through these fears really quick and talk a little bit about each of them, but try to keep this under 10 minutes if I can. So number 1 is losing people. That's a big one for all of us, I think, and oftentimes one that you can't change. But there is also ways in life that people will come in and out of your life from moving and you yourself moving away, and you can do things to change that, but it doesn't necessarily have to be today. You can take your time, and a lot of times you cannot impact this fear, and it's something I have to keep in my mind is, when you're with these people, spend the time with them as best you can, because you never know. None of us, there's no certainty for any of us. So when you're with those people, the people you care about most, spend time with them. Spend real time with them. Actually connect with them in a way that you may not be doing currently. So, as I mentioned, these aren't in any particular order, so I'm going to just read right down the list. This next one is by no means anywhere close to the first one, and I think that there's a few others on here that are much, much higher. But this is an important thing to me, so I put it down. Being a sellout. I don't want to feel like in my career or in my family life or anything like that I'm selling out. And I view that as kind of being unauthentic for profit's benefit or really for any benefit. I don't want to feel like I'm not being true to myself or who I am. Not using my best talents or abilities. And that kind of goes along with that second one, because if I'm not being true to myself, I'm not utilizing what I'm good at. And honestly, that's a big part of this whole project is I realize that I can speak in front of people, and I want to do more public speaking. I want to do more motivational speaking. And I find myself coaching people almost too much, to a fault. I grew up with several older brothers, in a sense. My older brother, and then I had cousins and other people that were very influential in my life that were constantly coaching me. So I passed that coaching ability on to everybody else, for better or worse. And my dad also, very much a coach, and it's a great thing in many ways, but sometimes I have to hold myself back a little bit because I can be a little overbearing, and I recognize that. But it is a good ability, a good talent of mine that I don't want to waste. So number 4 is wasting time. I think we all play into this sometimes. We can procrastinate, but the best way to counteract that is to do something. Get off your butt and do something if you feel like you're wasting time. If you feel like you're bored, well, go outside. Even if it's raining, just go do something. Read something. Being disconnected from my spirituality. That's a big one for me also, because when I'm inside for too long, I start to feel like I'm disconnected from what I'm truly meant to be doing. And that's a big reason why I've left jobs in the past, is because I feel like I'm sucked into this building for far too long every day. And I need to be outside. I gotta take breaks, and I gotta get out and connect with the world. But it's also, my religious beliefs and how I feel about where my soul is in this universe, that I don't want to be disconnected from that ever. Not even spend one moment disconnected from it, because life's short. 6, I'm a little fearful of technology. I know that this whole project exists because of technology. My ability to work from home exists because of technology. But I am fearful that there's too many people in this world that are somewhat enslaved by it. Like, everybody knows where their phone is at all times, and they can't leave the house without it. And, those sort of things. We're just a little bit dependent on it, so I've challenged myself to be less so. So let me know what you think about that. Number 7, I'm pretty fearful of trash. Every day I'm about to take the trash to the dump today. And, we just have a small family of 3 plus 1 dog. And we don't have that much trash. We really don't. Comparatively, we don't. I have 3 bags and, 4 bags of recycling. So at least we're counteracting most of it with recycling, but still, And that's over, maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks. I'm not sure. But still, we all create so much trash, and it's a big problem in this world. And it's a problem that our children and their children are going to have to deal with. And there doesn't seem to be a very good solution. So we all need to start thinking about that a little bit more, I believe. Number 8, living without intention. I'm curious how people view that one, because that one's really hard. That one's hard. It's really hard to feel like you're living with intention at every moment. And it's hard to stay in it, which is even more of a struggle. Even if you're doing all the right things, you look back on every day and say, man, I definitely lived it today. That was a good day. And I'm so happy I got to spend the whole day with my daughter and things like that. While you're doing it, it's hard to feel like that's your main intention. So I would challenge you to kind of stay in that moment and try to do your best to feel prideful, feel proud of what you're doing in the moment, as well as once you move past that moment. That's something I got to work on also. Number 9, I'm concerned with disappointing others. We all have a lot of people in our lives that we care about, and I don't want to let any of them down. As I told you, all my priorities the other day, a lot of those play into this. And it's something you got to work at every day. And I think that something you got to remember is that you often think you're disappointing people maybe more than you actually are. And it's okay to ask people. I think that being upfront and honest with people and asking them straight up. I'd ask my wife that. And there are things that I'm changing in my life because I felt like I wasn't living up to what she was providing for me. So, constant improvement. And finally, I'm scared of giving up. I hope most of you are too. Because when you give up, what else do you have? And I want to make sure that you know that this does not mean quitting things and ending a chapter in your life and starting a new one. That's okay. Trust me, everybody in my family will tell you that I do that quite a bit. But I don't give up. I don't stop. I don't give in and let the world just take me on. I take it on. And I change things in my life to create a better situation for ourselves. And I know that the way I do it doesn't look like the way that most people do it, but that's okay. You got to do it your way. And I think that that's true for all of us. So, those are kind of my 10 biggest fears. And really the only one in there that is real is losing people. And really, it's the only one in there that you can't change necessarily. So, with that in mind, you gotta know, there's that old Bible verse or proverb that says, God give me the wisdom to change the things I can, let go of the things that I can't, and the wisdom to know the difference. The wisdom to know the difference part is somewhere that we all could use some improvement. So, let me know what you're fearful of and how you're going to try to let some of those fears go and analyze those fears and say, when you're making a decision, especially when you're trying to kick off a new project or do something, is it that you're scared of what people are going to think? Because I'm sure that people aren't going to put as much thought into it as you probably think they will. So, I certainly was a little bit nervous and probably put this project off for years. But now I'm doing it. And I'm going to commit to it because it's been helping me as a person. I've already felt like it's reaching some people that I truly care about. And It's reconnected me with people that I haven't talked to in far too long. And I want to say thank you to everybody that's commented and liked and retweeted my stuff and encouraging me to keep going. And I want to help you as much as you're motivating me. So let's all do this together, and feel free to comment below and give me feedback, or just tell me what you're fearful of and what you're hoping to combat as far as your fears go over the next weeks, months, years. And we'll get into some more stuff tomorrow, and we'll keep going and get over our fears together. So we'll talk tomorrow, and I'll see you then.